In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make wainscoting out of drywall. Behind me you can see this 28-foot wall. It has 8 panels in it, and it's entirely made out of drywall. I built this wall 3 years ago. Right now we're inside an art school where hundreds of students come through here a week. Students set up still life props to draw and paint from, so this area gets a lot of abuse. You can see how well the wainscoting is held up. This is a great system. It's inexpensive, easy to do with a ton of different design choices. So let me show you how to build it. Here we are in my shop, and this is the wainscoting wall we're going to build in this week's video. I shoot in my shop because it makes it easier to film, and I can show you step by step, making it much clearer. Now this wall consists of only a few parts. We've got a top and bottom rail. We've got stiles that go in between the rails, 5 of them. We've got 4 panels and a top cap. I chose to make my rails and stiles 6 inches, but you can make them any width you want. Also, I put my top rail and bottom rail in first, and I put the stiles in between. This helps eliminate an extra joint that needs to be mudded. Before you begin, it's best to draw up a plan of the exact measurements and spacing you want on your wall. This can be as simple as drawing it up on a piece of paper like you see here. Let's start by marking the height of the bottom and top rails.
The bottom rail height is 6 1/4 inches, and the top rail starts at 28 inches and ends at 34 1/4 inches. This gives room for the cap. Do this on both sides of your wall. Next, chalk lines between your marks. I'm using my Tajima ultra thin chalk line, which works great when you need thin, clear lines. Right here I have to thank my cameraman. His name is Autofocus. It's hard to find good help. Here you can see the top and bottom rails are marked, along with a sexy shot of my chalk line. Hello! Next, mark out the stile locations on the top and bottom rail and draw lines between those marks. Here is the board all marked out. Next, it's time to cut the rail and stiles using 1/2 inch drywall. I've laid it out so they are all the same width. Cutting them all the exact same size isn't totally necessary, but sure feels good. Now it's time to attach the drywall. Apply an even bead of drywall adhesive and press it into the wall before screwing it in place. Put 2 screws in each stud in both the top and bottom rail.
Okay, time to measure for the stiles. We got 21 3/4. So we need to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 21 3/4 inch stiles.
Attach the stiles using the same procedure. Apply an even coat of adhesive and press the board onto the wall. You might have stiles with no studs behind it. That's okay. Just put screws in each corner and in the middle. Be careful not to strip the screw. They are just there to hold the drywall till the adhesive dries. Here's what you want when screwing into drywall. The piece is pushed against the wall and the edges are flush. Once the adhesive has dried, it's time to remove the screws that are just in the drywall. Next is prepping the joint by making a V-cut. This helps make a flatter joint and add strength. Time to mark out the lines for the panels. This is a very important step, and accuracy is key. If only autofocus would get in the game. Sheesh. I wasn't really marking anything here. I just wanted to show you the old bucket shuffle. Now chalk both horizontal lines, top and bottom, and pencil in all the vertical lines. And here's what it should look like so far. Next is setting up to cut the bead, using 1/2 inch spacers to place the bead in position while cutting. This is similar to cutting crown in that it's a compound angle cut, and the easiest way is to cut in position. Using blue tape and CA glue, you can adhere the spacer to your miter saw without damage. This is a great way to hold pieces with no damage, and you'll use it several times on this project. Now this is very important. You will need to flip your miter saw blade around so the teeth are pointing up. If you don't do this, you will crack the vinyl bead. A higher tooth blade works best when cutting thin plastic. Time to rough cut your pieces. This allows you to cut all the miters on one side before moving the saw. You can see here that the bead does not sit flat and has a little flex. When cutting, you need to make sure it is flat to the spacer, just like it'll be on the wall. A 3/4 inch plywood stick works good and can be used later during installation. Start by cutting a miter on one side of all pieces. Firmly holding the bead, make a clean cut. If you haven't watched my How to Make Perfect Cuts video, I recommend it. Getting perfect cuts here is key to a high quality job. Next, move your saw to the other 45-degree mark. You will need to position a stop block to ensure all the vertical pieces are the same length and all horizontal pieces are the same length. Take your time setting this up properly. It's very important if you want your miters to line up. Time to set up a little jig for gluing up the panels, and we get to use the blue tape trick again. Like I said, it's pretty handy. All you need is some scrap drywall and a 4-inch square board. Tape the board down using the CA glue and position the drywall square around the board using a piece of bead to set the gap. You can screw or tape the drywall down. Before you assemble the panel, you'll need to clip the flange and inner curve. This will help the miter go together easier. Just don't cut where the joint is visible. Now it's time to put it all together. No pressure. Start by gluing one vertical and one horizontal piece together. Apply gel CA glue to one side and wipe off any excess that gets on the face. Then spray the other side with activator. Place the beads in the jig and push together, making sure the edge of the bead stays in contact with the block, and hold for 10 seconds. Take care to not get glue on your fingers as it will stick them together or to the bead. Flip piece over and apply glue along the seam and spray activator over glue. Wait 20 seconds before moving. Repeat this with all the panels. Next is gluing the two halves together. Following the same procedure as before, do only one side at a time and make sure you let it cure for at least 20 seconds before moving. The pieces are still fragile and must be handled gently. Here you go, all 4 panels glued up and ready for the next step. Next step is installing the bead. You'll need a can of Trimtex 847, this is spray adhesive, staples and a staple gun. And these are special staples. They're 1/2 inch divergent staples, meaning that this point here goes in that direction and the back point goes in that direction. So when the staple goes into the material, it splits, giving a much stronger hold. Time to spray a generous amount of adhesive to the flange of the panels. It's best to have paper or some sort of protection underneath when spraying, as the glue is very sticky. Next, apply glue to the drywall. It's not that important to stay within the lines, but having full coverage is important. Final step before installation is to apply an adhesive caulking on the back side of the interior bead. This is to adhere the molding to the drywall and prevent it from moving in the future. Yes, now it's time to install the panel. Place the panel on the lines you drew earlier. This is where all the measuring and marking really pay off. Press lightly along the flange and on the interior edge to set the panel in the caulking. Don't put pressure on the miter as this is still fragile. Work your way down one panel at a time. Yep, you guessed it. That's the stick we used earlier at the miter saw. Time to press the flange tight against the wall. The spray glue is pressure sensitive, meaning you must apply pressure to activate and adhere the material. Last part of the installation is to staple the flange. I like to staple every 6 inches around the panel and 1 in each corner. Next step is to install the cap, which is the same decorative bead turned upside down. Start by applying glue and caulking on the bead. Then place bead on the wall. Press in flange and staple every 6 inches. Here is what you should end up with. Pretty cool. Now this is not a video on how to mud or paint. Those are upcoming videos. But here are the steps to finish the wall. Start by applying mesh to all joints. Then apply joint compound until you get your desired finish. Here's what it should look like. Next, celebrate with a customary drywall spin for a job well done. Then it's time for primer. Now apply caulking on the interior of the beads. Apply your choice of paint color and your project will be finished.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found something useful. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. And good luck on your project, and I'll see you next time.